India is at the grip of massive unemployment. A detailed look at the data over the last couple of years shows that employment opportunities for India's youth has reduced drastically and unemployment rate is negatively impacting the quality of life of Indians. According to Mahesh Vyas, who is the CEO and MD of CMIE, which is a Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, in 2020-2021, the central government had employed 3.31 million people. This was lower than 3.33 million employed in 2013-2014 and the 3.32 million employed in 2012 and 2013. The data states that central government employment had fallen to 3.28 million in 2017 and 2018. It has improved a bit since then, but it is still lower than it was 7 years ago. Mahesh Vyas goes on to say that in February 2019, the Finance Minister of India had denied that there was an employment problem in India. At that time, the then Railway Minister Piyush Goyal had announced that the railways would employ over 4 lakh people by 2021. This meant that there would be a massive 31.5% increase in employment in railways after many years of stagnation of jobs. Vyas goes on to say that though the BJP had made a pre-election promise and many agitations ensured that the government issued notifications for about 1,38,000 jobs by early 2020 and exams were also held, employment has not happened. He says the government was dragging its feet in completing the process to employ people. According to CMIE, the immediate challenge before the government is to provide employment to 7.9% people who are in the unemployment rate. The report notes that there were 35 million unemployed people in the country as of December 2021. These 35 million people were actively looking out for employment. And that apart, there was also an additional 17 million people who were also not employed and they were willing to work if work was available for them. Which means that India has almost 53 million unemployed people as of December 2021. Reports also reveal that a huge proportion amongst these people are also women. As per an NSSO report, which is a report from the National Sample Survey Organization, which is the largest organization in India that conducts periodic socio-economic surveys, the 2017 to 2018 data, which was published in 2019, showed that unemployment in the country was at a 45-year high of 6.1%. When our employment rate is at a 4-decade high, you can imagine the impact this will have on the people of our country and the quality of their life. According to a bulletin by the CEDA CMIE, manufacturing employment has halved in 5 years, which means that manufacturing employment is nearly half of what it was 5 years ago. Manufacturing accounts for nearly 17% of India's GDP, but the report notes that the manufacturing sector has seen employment decline very sharply in the last 5 years. The problem related to unemployment is so dire that recently there were massive protests by railway job aspirants over the Railway Recruitment Board's selection process. The protest by the railway job aspirants was triggered by the changes in the Railway Recruitment Board examinations shortlisting procedure, and the protesters alleged that there were many discrepancies and a new round of examinations had been added without prior intimation. But the highlight of the protest was the data, the numbers. It has been reported that when the Indian Railways made an announcement for job opening for 35,000 posts, around 1.25 crore candidates applied for the exam. Which means when one person gets a job, almost 353 applicants were denied jobs. The protests that took place related to railway jobs are not just because of discrepancies in the selection process. This showed the angst and desperation of the youth of our country who are constantly facing rejection when they apply for jobs in the hope of employment and a better quality of life. Take a look at these protests by our country's unemployed youth. This matter related to increasing unemployment amongst railway job aspirants was also raised in the parliament by the opposition.
चौंकाने वाले बात यह है सर चौंकाने वाले बात यह है 1 करोड़ 25 लाख 1 करोड़ 25 लाख 1 लाख 25 का नौजवानों को बुलाए गए, सिर्फ नौकरी की संख्या कितना 35,000। तो इसके हमारे देश की आज की रोजगार की स्थिति क्या है ये आप खुद पता कर सकते हैं। आपको मैं आंकड़ा देना चाहता हूं,
इस पिछले साल 3 करोड़ युवा रोजगार खोए हैं। आप बात करते हो रोजगार देने की, 50 साल से सबसे ज्यादा बेरोजगारी आज हिंदुस्तान में है।
When there are multiple studies both at the national and the international level that talks about India's unemployment problem, this is how our lawmakers are dealing with the issue. Hear this bite out. BJP leader and MP Tejasvi Surya makes a mockery of the problem of unemployment. Here he can be seen saying that there is no unemployment in the country and the only unemployed person in India was a Congress prince, Rahul Gandhi.
The Congress party and its dynasty leaders are confusing their political unemployment as the unemployment of the country. Those who are hardworking, talented, meritorious young people coming from the modest of backgrounds, they have enough number of opportunities. If there is one young person who is unemployed in the country, sir, it is the prince of the Congress party, the dynasty of the Congress party, sir. Let them not confuse their political unemployment for the employment of the masses today.
The MP here is not just playing politics over unemployment and saying that there is no unemployment in the country. What he is also saying is that those who are hardworking, talented and meritorious, such people have enough opportunities in the country. The MP, by saying this, is completely discrediting the plight of those unemployed people who have been walking from pillar to post for jobs despite their education and merit. Let's listen to this MP once again.
Those who are hardworking, talented, meritorious young people coming from the modest of backgrounds, they have enough number of opportunities.
Tejasvi Surya perhaps doesn't know, or he may have conveniently ignored the fact that his own government had stated before the Rajya Sabha recently that over 25,000 youth had ended their lives in India due to unemployment and indebtedness between 2018 and 2020. As per data, over 9,000 people died by suicide due to unemployment and over 16,000 people died due to bankruptcy or indebtedness. This was told by the government to the upper house. But it seems very likely that these numbers are just the tip of the iceberg, as we still don't know the count of the unreported figures. While the country is facing a staggering unemployment crisis, what measures are being taken by the government to provide jobs to our unemployed youth? During this budget, the government in fact slashed its allocation towards the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme by 25%. From 98,000 crores, the budget allocation this time came down to 73,000 crores. And because of this, political parties have been blaming the government for missing the bus and losing a great opportunity to provide employment to rural youth in the country. Let's now take a look at our states. How are our chief ministers reacting to the growing problem of unemployment in their respective states? When the CMIE data showed that of all states, the state of Haryana had the highest rate of unemployment with a whopping figure of 23.4%, this is how Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar reacted. The Chief Minister said that he will reach out to the AG and get action initiated against the CMIE for bringing out such a report on unemployment.
देखिए, अभी तो हम पॉलिटिकल जवाब दे रहे हैं और सीएमआई को भी मैं जरूर कोई इसका विषय हम एजी साहब से बात करेंगे कि इसके
साहब ने भी चिट्ठी लिखी थी जब वो थे एक बार इसके उनको सीएमआई को लिखा कि आपने तथ्य दुरुस्त करो, पिछले साल लिखी थी।
नहीं, अब इस बार मैं एजी साहब से बात करूंगा कि उनके खिलाफ कोई कार्रवाई भी करनी होगी तब भी करेंगे।
When the unemployment situation in the country is skyrocketing, recently it was reported that 2.5% of India's GDP was parked with the RBI only because both the center and the states could not find ways and means to spend it on infrastructure development, which in turn could have resulted in creation of millions of jobs for our unemployed youth. So the government both at the center and the state level cannot complain that they did not have enough money to create jobs. When it comes to employment, they just don't have the will to plan, strategize and create jobs for our unemployed youth. According to a data released by the World Bank, only 43% of India's working age population has a job. This is lower than the figures related to India's neighbors. For instance, Pakistan has 48% of its working age population with jobs. Sri Lanka, 49%. Bangladesh, 53%. Nepal, 74%, and India has an abysmally low figure of 43%. Unemployment is not a standalone problem. It often leads to multidimensional issues. It has a direct effect on inequality, on poverty. Unemployment results in lesser buying power, which in turn affects the economy. Unemployment results in increase in the number of suicides and mental health problems among people and their loved ones. More than anything, unemployment affects a person's sense of self-esteem and self-worth. According to Article 23 of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and to protection against unemployment. Right to employment is a human right, and a government that doesn't recognize this inherent right of its citizens must have no place in a democracy.